Hello and welcome back to MN's LEGO channel. Today, I'm going to be doing episode 2 of my Clone Base MOC Progression series. Okay, so since the last episode, I've gotten quite a bit done on the Clone Base MOC, and I'll be showing that all to you guys in this video. So real quick, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd highly recommend you do so. We upload videos quite often about LEGO content in general, including reviews, comparisons, mocks, and even stop motions from time to time. I'm actually working on a big stop motion project right now, so stay tuned for more about that. So now let's get right into it. So most of the changes I've made are just fixing small bugs with this, fleshing out the interior a little bit, and building up the garage a little bit. There are some significant changes that I've made, and I'll start off with the main base section over here. And also real quick, if you haven't seen episode 1, I highly recommend you do so. I'll link it up in the card right here on the end screen and in the description below. So let's get into it. So this base separates into 2 sections just like before, but it actually separates into 3 much easier. So before we get into anything, I'll quickly say that I redesigned this a little bit to make it easier to come off if I want to animate characters walking in it. That was actually a bit unintentional because it broke and I had to rebuild it, but I think it was a pretty successful rebuild. So now this is what the base looks like now. So as you can tell, it's very significantly different, especially in the trench area from episode 1. So a lot of what I did this past time since the last episode is I took out the base plates, the white base plates from here, and I connected the trenches. So how I did that is I just took out the walls here and put a couple of doors that actually open here with some hinge bricks so that figures can still walk in. It's very animatable, and there's tiles in here just to give it that smooth feel when it moves. Also in there, I put a little stop so that this door doesn't swing out and hit the troops that are manning the trenches. So the main reason I did this was just to give it more space so that now I can fit a whole bunch more clone troopers in the trenches. Before I could only fit like 2 here and here. Now I can fit all 4 that are nearby without having to make any more room or cram them in anywhere. Another thing you may have noticed is that I lowered this section an entire brick. Most of that was so that I could put some more bricks into my vehicle garage because I'm running out of white pieces for that, and also just bricks in general. I'll probably be doing a large brick link order soon. Expect a video from that in the next month or so. Yeah, I also changed the design of this cannon a little bit, made it a bit longer, more sturdy. And yeah, because before it would just keep snapping off and it would be super annoying. Now it's much stronger and it's not going anywhere as easy. On this side over here, I also extended the barrel a little bit, as well as put more plates here to give it a much more tiled off look. One other thing you may have noticed about the front section is that I put an opening door in it. So this was something that I put in because I filled out the trenches. I just put it in there as an extra layer of protection for the base. So when these doors open, the figures are going to need to get into the base somehow. So it's actually really easy to open. It's got 2 hinges, one here and one up here. So you just fold it up. And it can fold up like this to provide a little bit of shade if necessary. But it can also tuck completely away to under the base and you won't even know it's there. Yeah, this is a really cool function. It's one of my favorite parts of this entire front entrance area. And yeah, another thing I did was I put some more plates up here and gave this a little bit more of an aesthetically pleasing look to it, which I think was very successful. I'm very satisfied with it. Now let's move on to the interior. So getting the interior is much easier now because of one of the changes I made to the build, which I'll show off in just a moment. So the entire top section still comes off just as easy. And yeah, so there's a bit more of an interior, as I think you can see, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, I just wanted to say that I put a few plates and a lot of tiles in here to make the top section much easier to come off, so it doesn't take a minute like it used to. Inside I also put a little speaker which is actually a grate piece, which I think looked really good, as well as a small blaster rack in what is going to be the armory. I'm not sure if I'm going to add anything more in here. I might. I also put a little thermal detonator crate in there for the clones, as well as putting in a plate wall here. So how I did that is I just put some plates, I put some bricks with side studs in here on these plates as well, and then just stuck them together and put a row of tiles at the top. So this can be flipped either way, depending on how I'm displaying it or the needs for a stop motion animation, because this is above all else a stop motion set, so I have to be able to animate it easily, as well as make it look good from all angles. Another thing I did to the trenches section is I added a bit more storage for blasters and such, so that clones, if they're like manning the turrets or something, there's a little bit more storage space, as well as some electro binoculars they've moved from the old spot. As well, I've re-engineered the walls a little bit so that they're easier to remove. This just comes out that simple. This section here, it doesn't come out as easily, but if I'm filming like from this angle, it still is going to work. Back wall comes out same as before, nothing different about that. This side wall, this one's definitely the hardest one for it to come out. I just have to take that plate off and it comes off like that. See, that's about it for the interior of this. Now let's move on to the top section. So putting the top section on is really easy. Just put it on, press down on the sides, and it's on, good to go, not going anywhere. So the top turret did not change at all, one of the few parts of the build that actually didn't change this past week. I probably could have made a second video earlier this week about some of the changes I made, because I just did so much. I just haven't been making a video because I thought I'd save it all for one big one. So here, I put a couple of tiles and plates off here so that this isn't exposed to the air anymore. So putting this back on now, move on to the back. So before, this corner was all open and exposed and it looked really ugly actually, and I just bricked this all off and sealed it to the outside. So I think it looks a lot cleaner now, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a while but just haven't had the pieces to do. But on the inside, like, let me see if I can take this off so I can show you what the inside looks like. The inside looks actually pretty darn unique, because you see there's bricks and slopes and stuff and hinges and all that just sticking out everywhere. It looks kind of ugly in there, but I think it looks good from the outside. There is also still an interior to the top, which just is accessible by pulling these off. There's not much in there. Looks a little bit more ugly at this end because of this, but it's not something I'd be filming in. It's not something you'll typically be seeing if you're looking at this as a mock, and overall it's not very noticeable, so I'm not going to bother. Let's move on to the interior of the command center. Okay, so the roof comes off, same as before, to reveal the interior. So not much has changed in here, except that I did add a small blaster rack right there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's just a brick with side studs to put blasters on. Let's just take Commander Horn's blaster, just like that. Holo projector's exactly the same. Again, I added a bit more architecture here, modified the consoles, put a little bit more detail on this one. And yeah, that's actually about it for the main section. Now let's move on to the vehicle garage. So with the vehicle garage, not much has changed except for this. And I've raised the walls a little bit, but not actually all that much. And I just realized, because I took this off earlier for some reason, this is supposed to be up here, and this is supposed to be down here. Oops, let me fix that. So there, now that that's fixed, let's go on to the interior details. So I didn't change that much in this, but I did add a little bit more to it. So I built up the walls a little bit, a couple bricks worth. I also finished tiling this off, because it looked a little bit bad before. I refined the staircase. I refined the top balcony a little bit. There's just a few refinements. A lot of what I did this week was refining what I'd already built. I also put a tile in here instead of a plate. But one thing I did do that was pretty significant is this little rack here. There's a rack for an internal transport train. So I'm just going to take a moment and spotlight this. So what this is, just a small transport train for clones to drive around and pick up stuff. So I did a little engine unit, a little cargo wagon unit for it to pull around, as well as a crane unit, which takes everything off that rack and can just move stuff around. It's a very posable crane. Yeah, I'm not much of a Technic builder, but I think this little Technic mechanism is very simple and works really well. Over here in this corner, I did put a little bit of stuff. I put a little cargo crate for the crane to pick up, for the transport train to haul around. Pretty simple little cargo crate, not much to it. And here I also put a little fueling hose or something. Yeah, the reason I did this is because I had an old Lego City fire hose that I had nothing better to do with, and I thought, why not put it into the MOC? It's a pretty nice little hose, just a little fueling line or something. I also moved the staircase out a little bit, just so that minifigures could go up it without having to have their arms taken off. Better not let any Wookiees in here. Another change that isn't really part of the clone base MOC, but I did convert the ATRT into a 501st ATRT. I'll make a showcase video about this. It'll be up by the time you're watching this. Click on the card here, and you can watch that. I highly recommend you do so. Yeah. So yeah, that would be about it. So that is going to do us for episode 2 of my clone base MOC progression. So thanks for watching the video. Comment what you thought of this in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!